Hello guys, welcome to today's session, market snapshot session. We've had a very eventful week and I'm hoping everyone is having a good trading week so far. We did review some setups from Monday, Tuesday, and I think they are playing out quite nicely if you are following up with them. So today we're going to look at what happened, market snapshot session. We're going to look at what happened yesterday. That is with the news with regards to, we had Canadian CPI coming out. And then today, early in the morning, we also had the pound CPI coming out. So we'll quickly go into that first. So let us talk about the news that came out from the UK earlier today. So at 9, we had the inflation report from the UK. This came as an upside surprise. We were expecting 9.8 and it came out as 10.1%. Now, the only issue with some of these calendars is you usually have to cross-check these expectations over here. So, for example, if Forex Factory, for example, they're giving you 9.8, but usually if you're looking to trade around the news or trade fundamentals, you have to cross-check everything on this list from the impact to the expectations. So on some websites, we were having a different expectation. Some websites are already quoting 10.2, I think. So the thing about expectations over here. So some websites are already expecting sort of a higher inflation. And the important thing about having an expectation is to know how important or what is the impact going to be. So obviously some analysts are saying that it came in lower than expected, and some are saying that it came in higher than expected. Having said that, we did have a huge reaction in the markets, and we'll look at that shortly. So it came in at 10.1%. So let's see how it printed out on the charts. Okay, so on the charts, on the 4-hour, we had a channel that has been there for a couple of, I think a couple of weeks from the start of, all the way from the start of March. We've been trading in this channel, which we finally broke out of. This is pound USD. I think on the daily, it's the same thing. So we broke a new high here, but you can see the momentum in the market is not as strong. So if you go to the H4 and the H1, you can see that this clear break here looks like we might be forming a new resistance level at this point, or even at the moment here. And the reason I'm saying that, or the reason that is the case, is last year in the UK we had a recession scare. That is, we could have gotten into a recession in the UK, and that meant it's negative for the economy. So a high reading like this isn't necessarily good for the economy because it's persistent. You're having double-digit inflation for the longest. So having said that, this move upwards might not necessarily be sustained. So you might see it turning from here or here, but it might not be sustained as such because the UK is already experiencing high inflation and the central bank might be unable to sort that. So I'll just delete this over here. So in that case, if you're looking to trade a continuation higher, then your next target should be up here. And if you're looking for a long-term buy, then we'll need to see it coming back to the supply zone or where we started selling off, which is in this area marked over here. However, sell scenario which might be more likely is us coming back down. So on the H1, you might see us coming back down, filling this imbalance over here to these levels as we wait for tomorrow's comments from some of the Fed speakers. So we might come back to this demand zone over here where we started buying off, which is a more likely scenario, but of course there's always a bullish scenario. And in that case, we need to first pass this point from the 4-hour channel and then get to this point here. Next, we have GJ, pound Japanese yen, which has been even more aggressive with the news. Now, this one is two factors causing this. The first one, of course, is the hot inflation coming in. So we are seeing pound really shooting up. We had this ascending triangle here, but I think it's safe to say it has been broken. So an ascending triangle will simply show you uncertainty in the market like that. But since it's been broken, then our next target should be the supply zone or where we started selling off. So if you look at the daily, the previous time we started selling off was at this point over here. So I'll just mark that. So we had this point over here where we started selling off initially, and that's where we're heading to at the moment. So that shows you that that's an area of supply, and that's where sellers started coming into the market. If we pass that level, then you might be looking for a sustained move or a confirmation of some sort. That means we need to see the prices passing and then retesting and rejecting to go lower. That's when you can continue being long till possibly the next high, which was on this candle over here. A bearish scenario in this case, because you're getting into a supply zone, then chances are we might start seeing more selling. Then that means on your lower time frame, you have to wait for market structure to change, and then you come back down to our target here, which was a trend line or way down here. So this one is going to be very active for the day because we have a lot of news also from Japan. So we look at why we had such a huge spike and the pound didn't spike up as well. And the reason pound Japanese yen, I like calling it GJ, spiked like that was because initially we had comments from the Bank of Japan. So let's look at USD JPY for a minute. So if you're to look at the news for USD Japanese yen, see that they're still, so the central bank, they're still undergoing a period of easing. So they're saying easing might take time. Easing is simply means they're going to make the Japanese yen more available, more accessible because of the bonds they have, the amount of bonds they have. And that is bringing pressure back on the Japanese yen. So if the Japanese has a bearish bias, that means we are more likely to see Japanese yen weakening. Then on the charts, this is how we've been translating. So in this case, we have a channel like this, but it's been more on the upper side. So the channel is the price is inclined on the upper side of the channel. And in this case, we might see Japanese yen coming back to this previous high of 135.1, way above here. So that means there can be upside pressure also on this pair right here, which is pound Japanese yen. So in as much as you might see maybe a bit of a sell-off, it's still very bullish at the moment. However, with this one, again, we might see it filling this imbalance as we've said, or we have our target up here. So it's up to you to go to the 15-minute structure and see, are we already having a downtrend or are we still in an uptrend? And then we also did, so if you have any questions, you can just comment on the chat section. So on Monday and Tuesday, we looked at gold, and that's what we have here. So again, gold, we had a lot of news, especially from the dollar. We still have a lot of fears from the banking crisis in the US because the Fed is still adamant on putting high interest rates. So one interesting thing about gold is whenever there's fear in the market, gold will spike up. Because clearly here you can see that we have, this was the Russian invasion, and this one over here was COVID or the pandemic here. So these two, this is when we had a lot of distress. And here we had the banking crisis. So now the question will be, is the banking crisis over or not? And that's something that you'd be looking to follow. But in the meantime, we were sort of forming a triangle formation here, which shows indecision. We might see this happening for the rest of the day till tomorrow, because we still have comments from the US coming up. So you're likely going to see this consolidation stay as is, like this. So in the 1 hour, this is what we have. So if at all we head lower than this, then obviously you'll be looking at where is the next low in the market, and that will be at this point over here, and finally at this point over here. But the typical, let's see, the typical range for gold of late hasn't been large. So if you are to measure the range of these candles, unless there's like a high impact news, we've been doing for around 400 pips per day. So this candle here, I don't expect it to exceed that, because we have no major news coming up today. So we might see it probably expand and then have a pullback, but we will stay within this candle over here, this doji candle over here on the daily. So having said that, there can be good buying opportunities along this trend line, or if we see persistence downwards, then we might look to trade it all the way again to over here. And then same thing with Nasdaq. So on the daily, we had this ascending wedge, but we were failing to break this zone. So remember, we had this zone marked out since Monday, and so this is Nasdaq. On Monday, we had this supply zone here, and you're saying price is struggling to break here, although it really wants to go up. So we have comments. So let's check the charts again. I mean the calendar. So tomorrow we have unemployment claims coming in, and I think we have one of the members speaking. So this might create uncertainty. It might create a consolidation, some sort of consolidation. So that means it's a good opportunity. If you're trading a range, that's usually the best time to trade. Or rather, the best time to trade a range is when there is high impact news that the market is waiting on. In that case, you know that buyers are not going to be coming in to push the prices until they're sure, and sellers are also not going to push prices lower until they're sure. So that's when we have really strong ranges in the market. In this case, way up to tomorrow, we should expect us to be in this range. So on the on the 1 hour time frame, that means we'll be moving within. So let me put this here. So we have the upper bound, and we have the lower bound here. Yeah, so we'll be waiting for more data from the Fed in the US, so that we know what the direction is likely going to be. However, from the current data, there's a strong case to make. And the current data, that means the weak economic data from last week, and the bearish comments from the former Fed member who spoke on Friday, that is going to speak tomorrow. Then there's a strong argument to make that we might see us coming to the lower end of this wedge over here. But that's up to tomorrow for us to see that. So we'll just hold up with that for now. And then Euro USD. This one we looked at yesterday also. Trending up in this channel on the 4 hour time frame. We were expecting it to come down till this point. However, we didn't sell entirely to this point. There is a very weak case for a bullish scenario at the moment, considering yesterday we had Lagarde talking. The other day, it was on Monday, we had Lagarde talking, and it didn't move the market up by much. So we have a strong case. Oh, sorry. I think I was talking about the charts and I'm not showing the charts. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think now you can see the charts. So I was saying for Euro USD, we looked at this yesterday. We are still in a channel, and this channel, as you can see, the upwards momentum is very weak. Usually if you're seeing a chart that looks like this over here and a chart that looks like this, you can see that this trend and this trend are very different. Here we have a lot of certainty about where the market is heading, but here the momentum isn't as high. So this can be a setup for a reversal lower, or you might see the market chugging along until there is clearer news ahead. So there's a again, I was saying there was a very weak case to go higher. So chances are we'll be looking to hit this lower trend line over here, or the lower end of the channel. In the event we do go higher, then you need to see clear signs that the market has momentum upwards. And that means, again, this level that we marked here, if we pass this point, then we can have a bullish case that we are coming back to where the market started selling off at this supply zone over here. And then lastly, yesterday we had, Yeah, we had CPI from Canada, and we did say that because we are there's already some consensus on the central bank holding rates, then the news might not have a huge impact on the markets. And indeed, we had this muted reaction in the markets. That was yesterday. So at the moment, if you look at USD cut, we are in a downwards trend or a downtrend, and in a channel on the H4 as such. So to zoom this clearly. So we might see the market breaking lower. And in that case, if you want to make a bearish case, then you'd want to see prices passing this point over here. So this is a trend line that the market has formed. Also, it will form part of the minor time frame market structure. So if we break this point, then definitely the next target will be down here or at the bottom of this channel. Yeah, so that's it, unless there are questions in the chat section. So one thing to note about tomorrow's comments is sometimes when you're looking at this, these news items, like these members, they usually have either hawkish or bullish, or I think bullish rhetoric. So it's good to know, for example, this guy here, what's his attitude in the market? Does he usually encourage higher interest rates, or is he more inclined to pausing and seeing how that the current hikes have impacted the market? So, of course, we all know that from last Friday's speech, this guy is very hawkish, and that might bring some downwards pressure, especially to stocks. That's the Nasdaq. Any questions in the comment section while you go through these charts? Then the other data we might be looking to see is CPI, although this one will come in very, very early in the morning at 1:45 a.m. So if you're up at that time, maybe you can do analysis on this. And then we also have the Bank of Canada governor speaking later in the day. So tomorrow is a bit more eventful than today. So expect a lot of activity, and we'll do a bit more analysis based on the reaction for today. However, because again, there is major news in the market, we don't expect such a huge or a lot of volatility today because of that uncertainty that traders have with regards to taking huge positions. In this case, for example, again, you said if it's USD cut, there's a speech tomorrow with the Bank of Canada chairman, so we might expect a bit of muted reaction there. Same thing with stocks. That's Nasdaq, for example. anything with gold, anything with dollar. And yeah, and let's see how the market plays out. So today it will be a lot of market structure trading, a lot of reversals in the market because there's not really high impact news that's coming out today, but tomorrow. Okay, so having said that, if there are no further questions, thanks for attending today's session. You'll be covering a bit more tomorrow. Also in the evening, we have a training session at 8 p.m. on YouTube. I think the link is already up for the YouTube session in the evening. Having said that, enjoy your trading session today. So there's one question: at what time is FX Pesa classes in Thika? So we have classes, all our training centers in Thika from around 1 to 3. And then we have from 3 all the way to 6. So you can come the whole afternoon and spend your time there and talk to traders and interact with the trainer there, Robert. And yeah. Any other question? All right. So happy peep hunting. Enjoy your trading day today.